In the last episode, we applied Dupli-Color truck bed coating to provide a long-lasting defense for the vehicle's most used and abused area. With that out of the way, we're going to start the long journey of repairing the body of this classic car. Hey, welcome back to the Dupli-Color Garage. We're still wrenching away on Project El Camino. We have a lot going on, and we have a lot more to do as well. The next part is the body work. Now, we did a ton of stuff under the hood. Really started getting everything back together, putting all the accessories, the carburetor back on. We still have to do the spark plug wires and things like that just to get the engine running. All right, so Ben and Mark are in the process of removing the header panel. That was quick. Just because we need to remove this fender, give us access to all the bolts. This fender has a whole lot of issues. It's rotted out on the bottom because the battery that was sitting in here was leaking acid, dripping acid down and eating that metal away, and it also ate away the inner structure of the fender. We also have some old bodywork going on here that's affecting the body line. So just overall, the fender's trashed. We located a new one, in the process of prepping that one so we can get it swapped back on the El Camino, and then we'll get the header panel put back on as well to complete it when we go about painting the car. Now the next step, of course, is removing the rest of the trim. I already got rid of it on the front fender here. We'll carefully remove it along the side, the whole passenger side, even the driver's side, because all the trim is going to get painted with our satin black trim paint. So we have a lot of work to do, so let's get to it. Funny when you see the work that you did 10 years ago, where there should have been an Allen head screw, but I jammed a Phillips head in it. Look at signatures.
Nice.
I freaking signed it.
Nice.
These are all people that worked on it. So hey, I pulled the door panel off the driver's side, and it's kind of interesting. You know, I worked on this car 10, 12 years ago, and the things that you kind of forget when you pull a car back apart is everyone who worked on this car back then signed the back side of this door panel. That's my signature right here. A couple of the other guys who are off the brand now worked on it as well. They signed it. And this one, I'd have to double check online. This one right here kind of looks like a J, some scribble. 08 is what that says. That might be Jesse Combs' signature. And unfortunately, she's passed away, but she helped us the first time we worked on this car. So if you haven't seen those videos, make sure you definitely go back on Dupli-Color TV and check out those videos with her in here. She helped us weld some brackets in the floor for the bucket seat, so pretty cool. A little bit of memorabilia here from years back. There we go. All right, so we are knee deep, or I should say neck deep, in body work on this car. I got Phil and Ben doing some sanding on the other side. They're knocking down some final touches on the body filler. The driver's side here is pretty much ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'll walk you through a few things that we did, a few products that we used to get this body in good shape and pretty much ready for the paint shop primer. So we went ahead and fixed all sorts of dents. I mean, we even found some dents that we didn't fix the first time around, and when the car was sitting in storage, it had a huge dent right here, which we pushed out what we could. The rest of it we filled. So throughout the entire process, we used Dupli-Color filler primers, different assortments of primers, and of course prep products throughout the step, or throughout the different steps, I should say. So the first one that we used here, just to clean things off, was our multi-purpose foaming prep spray, just to get it good and clean. Once we laid down the filler and sanded that smooth, we went ahead and used basically an assortment of our filler primer and a 2-in-1 filler primer. Now these are two different grades of primers as far as the thickness and the solids. Laying it down, removing the sanding scratches and getting it super smooth and basically ready for paint. So things are looking good there. We have the hood, of course, was off the car. We had that transitional line that went from the previously restored finish over to the original factory finish, and you can see all the different body work that was done. So everything that you see here in gray, we used our filler primer on. So this is really smooth and good to go. Now as far as tearing the car down, I mentioned that we pulled the passenger side fender off because it was so rusted out due to that battery that was leaking acid. So this is the replacement fender that we got, and we went ahead and prepped it off the car. This is good to go, so we'll go ahead and put that back on the car, but we do have to get the car back down on the ground first because it is tweaked slightly being up on jack stands. We want to make sure the car is sitting on all four wheels naturally before we put all the panels back on, so we can align those up properly and so they fit properly. So as mentioned, the driver's side is good to go. You can see all the work that was done. We have everything scuffed down with a red scuff pad, which is equivalent to about a 400 grit paper. The roof is scuffed down. We had that transition line going down the center of the roof when we painted that the first time as well. Of course, we have everything masked off. Let me take you guys around to the passenger side. Now this is the side that was unfinished, had the original paint for the most part, and Phil and Ben are just doing some final sanding on some body filler and scuffing things down as well. So things are looking really good. Of course, we pulled the bumpers off as well because the bumpers were then in the way, and that leads us to the next thing. Once the body is all finished, all the trim is off the car. There is a ton of trim that goes into this car due to the fact that it has the different two tones of paint and the trim work that separates each color of paint and the bumpers itself. We have brand new bumpers for it. Those, we have special plans for that and special plans for the trim. So we have a lot of work to do. We've done a lot of work, but we're definitely moving along. So let's continue staying dirty and keeping busy. All right, while Phil and Ben wrap things up on the body, there is a massive pile of trim that I have sitting here, and hard to believe that all this trim, and there's even more that's not on this table that came off that car. So our plan for this car is to black out all the trim. Now, the previously restored driver's side did have the black trim, and we're carrying that theme through the rest of the car, but we want all the trim to match, so we need to go ahead and finish 100% of the trim. So the process here is actually real simple. The trim is made up of aluminum, stainless steel, and chrome. The chrome, the bumpers, and then there's just a mix of stainless steel and aluminum. Some of this trim has a few dents and dings. We did buy a few that were available, but some of this trim is not available, so we are going to finesse some of the dents out of the trim, fill with some body filler where we can, because the trim will then be refinished with some filler primer, and then finally Dupli-Color trim paint. So as far as prepping goes, you want to make sure the trim is good and clean. use our foaming prep cleaner or our solvent prep spray to go ahead and clean the surface. Once it's good and clean, you simply take a red Scotch pad and scuff that finish. You want to break that shininess. You get a good brushed look basically on that piece of trim. Then you know it's good and scuffed and ready to accept the paint, because you want that mechanical adhesion, you want that abrasive finish so the paint has something to bite to. And that trim, once it's finished, it'll have a super nice satin black finish, which will contrast great with the color that we'll be painting the car. So, like I said, I have my work cut out. I have a lot of trim to work with. I definitely need Phil and Ben's help with all this, but let me grab some of this trim. I'll get it on a much larger table so we have room to spread out and get working. All right, so Phil is back there finishing up the final body work on it, and I found this box of parts laying in the corner, things that we took off the body when we disassembled everything. That's the gas door, and these are some fender filler pieces, and then we had that long filler piece that goes in between the rear bumper and the body. So as Phil is finishing that up, things are looking awesome here, just about ready for paint. We went ahead and painted all the trim as well, and this car has so much trim work, and you know, we thought we were all finished, and then we ended up finding, actually I found this piece. This is the piece that goes on the base of the windshield, sitting on the workbench back there. So I think it was in the bed of the El Camino, and we probably threw it on the workbench and just completely forgot about it. It was covered in dust. So I got to finish this piece up, of course these pieces, and once Phil is ready or finished sanding that final bit of body work back there, I'm actually going to take the wheels that we painted, put them on the car, get the car back down on the ground where it's sitting naturally on the suspension, and then we can get the fender back on it. But we still need to do some work on the fender as well before that happens. And also, of course, the front header panel as well. So we still have a lot to do, but we've gotten a long ways. We've gone a long ways. So we're staying busy here at the Dupli-Color shop. All right, so we have the new replacement passenger side fender here up on the table. Need to finish off the back side of it because it does have some rust, and we're going to finish this in the satin black VHT roll bar and chassis paint to match the driver's side. It's a lot easier just to finish it here up on the table before we put it on the car. So Phil is he's grabbing the header panel. That's the last piece of the body besides, of course, this inner side of the fender. So he's going to finish a little bit of body work on that. I finished painting the trim piece that's drying here behind me. And once we're done with that, as mentioned, get the wheels on the car, lay it back down and get these panels put back on it. So we are ready to pull it outside. Just kind of checking things over, making sure we got everything covered. I found a chip here, so I'll have to take care of that. But it's all good though. Wheels are on it, back on the ground. It's been a long time coming, looking real good. So what we're gonna do next is, like I said, push it outside, blow everything off with the air compressor, just to get all the bulk dust off of it, because we don't want, of course, any dust in our paint. Once the car's out of here, of course, there's going to be a big pile of dust on the ground from all this body work. So we'll sweep that up, we'll get the hose out, wash the whole area, squeegee it out, make sure everything is good and clean, because you definitely don't want any dirt in your paint project, because then you have to get it out. So we good, Phil? Ready? Push this outside. Let's hope it still rolls. It's actually in park. The linkage just hooked back up. All right, let's go. Next time it'll run. At least that's the plan. All right, well, we got the car pushed back in place after we hosed everything down. Everything's good and clean. The car is a lot cleaner than it was. Needs a little bit more detailing here and there, but we'll do that at the end, of course. So over the weekend, Phil and I did a couple of other things as well, just in preparation to get the fender back on the car. We painted the back side of the fender to match the back side of the driver's fender, because remember, that's the passenger side that wasn't touched, and that is the new fender to replace that old rusted fender. And Phil went ahead and did a great job painting this core support here, so things are looking good on top. Painted the fan, installed that, so that's good to go. We can then tighten the belts once we get close to firing up the engine. And also went ahead and sealed the AC delete panel with the window butyl tape, which is a real good trick. Instead of using a gasket, using that window tape, it does a real good job sealing all the little contours and things like that. We also did a little bit of more touch-up work that will be seen once the fender is in place, but I think we're in a good spot to grab the fender and get that fender put back on and get this car looking more like the car. Grab this and throw it on. All right, so we got the fender mounted in place, but it's just kind of sitting there right now. All the bolts are there, but it's loose. You can literally move it around. So the reason why we want it loose is because we need to adjust it now. And what you're looking for as far as adjustment goes is making sure that this gap right here is consistent. It's kind of big right now, so we can push it back and see it being moved. Push it back so it's consistent from top to bottom. You don't want it too big, you don't want it too small. And the reason why you want to adjust to the door, because the quarter panel doesn't go anywhere. So then the door gets adjusted to the quarter panel, then the fender gets adjusted to the door. So we didn't touch the door is fine. So since we removed the fender, we need to adjust that. So once we get it adjusted, get the shims in place, we can go ahead and tighten everything back up. All right, so we're getting really far along in the body here. And earlier, we pulled out the entire, the whole interior. Everything's out of here, of course, except for the dashboard. The dashboard's gonna stay in here. I know that we did a half and half transition before with the dash cap on here. We glued that dash cap in place, so we're gonna have to carefully scuff things down, mask off the windshield, and finish that off with the vinyl and fabric spray. But we have all of the interior panels out on the table. And as mentioned, we were finishing up the bodywork. Phil went ahead and finished up the inside of the fender. We mounted it, all lined up. We just have to do some final block sanding on the exterior here, so we're good to go there. We have a lot of the interior panels. Mark and Phil are checking those out. A lot to do because this old plastic deteriorates over time, especially with the sun hitting it. So we did have to replace a couple panels. So we do have some mismatched colors going on. We have black from the driver's side. We have dark blue, light blue, red, just a little bit of a mix of everything. You can see the different colors here. Just because this old plastic, just like I said, falls apart, a few pieces were completely brittle and falling apart. And so get those scuffed down, get some Dupli-Color vinyl and fabric applied down. It's designed to go directly to well-prepped plastic, and we'll get everything completely coated with a nice coat of flat black to make that interior pop. All right, well, we are rocking and rolling on this car here. We have all the interior parts scuffed down and ready to apply the vinyl fabric paint. New paper down, of course, to keep things clean. We're going to do one final wipe down of everything, blow it off the air compressor, and get to painting. In the next episode, we're laying down the fresh coats of our paint shop finish system that'll bring this classic car to the modern day. We're inflating the paint booth, getting geared up, and bringing this car back to life. Stay tuned as we near the end of the long journey of Project El Camino. To keep up on the latest from Dupli-Color, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, visit Dupli-Color.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more great videos from Dupli-Color.